You're watching Liquid Lunch on Newsmax TV. I'm Frank Morano. John Chewbacca will be back here with us in New York tomorrow. But we're very, very pleased that rejoining us today is Joe Pinion, a longtime Republican strategist, businessman, and philanthropist. Joe, give me your take on the breaking news that we've been covering, the fact that Kamala Harris, senator from California, somebody that was viewed as one of the leading candidates for a while, has dropped out of this presidential race.
Well, look, I think that we have finally seen that ding-dong Kamala has now gone away. From day one, she's really been this creation of the political class, right? So, I mean, basically, somebody decided 4 years ago that she was going to be the female version of Barack Obama, and ever since then, everything that has been done is try to, basically follow in those footsteps. And so, even if you look at from the first debate to present, all of her best moments have been things that have been scripted by other people months in advance. When she actually had to endure attacks on her record, she could not respond. Even the best responses that she has in her post-debate seems to be things that were written for her by a staffer. So right now we're having this situation right now where she's now falling out. You have somebody like Mike Bloomberg, who has now gone from stealing her staff to stealing her place in the polls. And I think it's going to be interesting to see where we go from here.
It's no secret that one of the early states, one of the early primary states, South Carolina, the black vote is incredibly important. Right. I would think Kamala Harris would have had a lot of support there. Why do you think she didn't necessarily resonate?
I think, people have this kind of myopic view of black voters in the sense of they're saying that, look, they're all going to vote for the black candidate. I think if you go back to Iowa, back to 2008, you see that black voters initially were very much in support of Hillary Clinton. They liked Barack Obama, but it wasn't until he demonstrated that he could get a broader swath of Americans behind him that those black voters in South Carolina defected. And so you see the same thing right now with black voters saying that, look, the most important issue, I see every poll amongst black and brown people who are being polled is that who can beat Donald Trump amongst Democratic primary voters. And so right now there was not that belief that Kamala Harris or Cory Booker or any of the other candidates that would be the would-be inheritors of the Obama coalition can make headway there. I think that's why you see somebody like Mike Bloomberg coming up all of a sudden. I think that Republicans should turn their eyes to Mike Bloomberg very quickly, because with that war chest, who knows what can happen.
So I alluded to this with John earlier, and I'll get your take. Now, Kamala Harris had qualified for the next debate, so the candidates that, as of this point, are going to be in the December debate, Tom Steyer just qualified today. So you have Steyer, Biden, Buttigieg, Amy Klobuchar, Bernie Sanders, and Elizabeth Warren. Right. First of all, I question how many people are even going to pay attention to a debate that doesn't have one of the leading candidates, Mike Bloomberg, in it. Right. Second, what do you think the debate stage is going to look like, both physically being all lily white, and what are you expecting to come out of that debate?
Well, I think it's going to be one of the lowest viewed debates. I think also we're going to look at a situation where, most of the people you just named might not end up even being on the campaign trail in Iowa, because Democrats have been on a sprint to impeachment. And so, as I said earlier in the show, look, you could end up in a situation where you have 6 of the leading candidates who are possibly going to be your nominee, trapped in D.C. in a mess of your own making. You could have the 7th candidate in Joe Biden, who could himself be called as a witness to engage in an impeachment inquiry that actually could be the demise of his actual campaign. And so ultimately, I think Democrats really find themselves in a bind where they should be focusing on, can we get this trade deal with Mexico and Canada approved? Can we actually do something for our constituents? And instead, they've tripled down on an impeachment inquiry that, when you look at independent voters in pretty much every single poll, they have said unequivocally they do not want.
And lest anyone think this USMCA, which is the trade deal that Joe just alluded to, is a Trump pet project. The president is in London right now, and he just did a press conference or a press briefing with the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, not considered a conservative by any means. And Justin Trudeau says he's eager for this deal to get done. So this is something that has the potential to be an improved deal for the United States, but also a good deal for Canada and Mexico as well. Let me ask you this, Joe. You're a guy that understands game theory and politics as well as anybody. The government is scheduled to run out of money in 17 days.
December 20th.
Unless they act, unless they can work out a deal, the government is going to shut down. Now, what appetite do you think either party has to work with the other, given the polarized DC climate of impeachment?
Well, there is no appetite. And I don't know what Nancy Pelosi or Adam Schiff are doing. I mean, you could make the argument they're engaged in political malpractice because you basically have a limited window here. I think it comes down to about 9 or somewhere between 7 to 9 working days left where they can actually try to get done with the actual impeachment. You're going to actually at the same time try to find money for the government and at the same time get a trade deal done. So unless we're going to have 24-hour C-SPAN coverage where people are going to be sleeping in offices, which I think you have a Congress right now, it's a do-nothing Congress. They don't really do much work as it stands. I don't know how they're going to get all this stuff done. And so you're going to have the American people looking at Democrats saying, in a choice between funding the government and making sure I can pay for Christmas, or in a choice between making sure we get a trade deal that makes sure that my life and my security is paramount, you chose impeachment over my happiness, over my future, over my security. And if the Democrats do that, Donald Trump pretty much can move to Mar-a-Lago and wait for November to come.
All right, Joe Pinion, a lot of fun as always.
Thank you so much,
I hope
man.
you'll come back soon.
Absolutely.
All right, you're watching Liquid Lunch on Newsmax TV. When we return, we'll tell you how to avoid some holiday scams, and we'll also tell you what's happening with the real estate market nationally. You're watching Liquid Lunch on Newsmax TV. I'm Frank Morano.